decontamination project.
Hi, Master. What's the contamination solar project?
Good question, dear Oran. Decontamination is to move contaminated materials somewhere else. But even after moving, radiation cannot be controlled.
I thought we could remove radiation.
No, we can't do better than to shut them into the container. People are forcing each other so that they don't want to place the containers anywhere.
I thought we could remove radiation.
Adding solar power generation can bring some money to the people for selling electricity, and then they are willing to place the containers. This is the Decontamination Solar Project. Let's set up Fukushima Solar Power Generation Cooperative. Come on now, turn over the page please. I will show you how this project works.
Hi, everyone. Today, I'm going to ask about the contamination solar project proposed by Master, an engineer on Senior Volunteers Corps for Fukushima, SVCF. Now, Master, why does Fukushima reconstruction start with the contamination solar project?
Well, the government started reconstruction agency, improving vertical administrative system, beginning to move aiming at reconstruction. However, they have already met with a setback about model decontamination work.
What's the problem?
That's why there is no place to keep radioactive waste after decontamination. Listen, this is a feature of our project. Decontamination work and solar generation are integrated in one project, which means we can do it in one place at the same time.
Wow, that is a very good idea. Similar situation in Fukushima?
To my surprise, by the symposium I attended, there were 800 intermediate storage places in Chernobyl. But now those burying points are not recognized anywhere. You can see some pictures of pine on the internet, but the branches are not normal. Now people say the places under such pine might be intermediate storage places. 25 years, such a long time. People move here and there during the quarter of the century. Therefore, it's quite difficult to manage radiation safely for more than decades. No one wants to memorize a terrible accident.
Well, I got the point. Burying is easy for not too visible and make people feeling safe. Finally, they will forget.
Spreading will be started immediately. There is also a case of burying in a corner after putting them into a plastic bag. As the saying goes, the public memory is a short one.
It is heard the decontamination model project has been started in Minamisoma. Which way is it?
A large-scale work, which you can see in the slide, the public officer says to the people, just 3 years temporary storage, then digging them up to move to an intermediate storage place again. However, it's really hard work, isn't it? Can they find it easily? I don't think so. People are likely to forget.
I really understand what you say.
It becomes fine ashes and flies away. The opposition movement against burying of incineration ashes has broken out in every place. Well, if we don't put them into the container, they are spread after all.
I really understand what you say.
Adsorption by zeolites is applied to contaminated water.
I see. Any other technologies?
Zeolite is moved and put it into a container to be kept.
We have to carry out that we can do now. What should we do?
Let's wait until true decontamination technology will be developed.
Why is it required to put solar panels?
We shut radiation into a container. They put solar panels on it for the time being.
Why is it required to put solar panels?
For managing radiation, it is necessary to put into a container. We don't want to put a big container just in front of us. It reminds us an awful and sad memory. Adding solar generation on top of a container, negative image changed to positive one, due to give us money for selling electricity. Then contaminated materials is controlled firmly. Unfortunately, even if radiation is too high for living even after decontamination, an income is only secured.
Give me a specific example.
You can start with a bag stuffing right now. It carries out by the decontamination model project in Minamisoma City.
Bag stuffing? Oh my, just like government does? Then I think the project is not needed.
No, it's not only that. Before putting bags into a container, radiation must be measured and recorded. Considering true decontamination technology is developed in the future, it will be completed if a solar panel is finally on top.
What kind of container is that?
Size of the container is ISO 20 feet. That is as large as marine one. Since the top surface inclines in order to put the unit solar, it is sunny. Moreover, rainwater does not accumulate.
I sometimes see a truck which carries a container. It's quite large.
Considering we may move them again, they are max transportable size on road and are made from lightweight concrete for not to become heavy. But it still becomes 10 tons. An approximate price 300,000 yen is expected for a concrete container. It is a mass production price, supposing 1 million pieces.
Producing 1 million containers in the factory and carrying is a hard work, right?
A container is put together by a panel in order to make it easy to transport. A lot of panels are put on a truck and are carried to each field, and then container will be set up there. It returns to a panel at the time of reprocessing. After that, decontamination to concrete must be done. It is convenient to grind if a container returns to a panel again.
There's no cover. Why?
Since the cover is a solar unit, make them in the other factories. Then a container and a solar unit will be assembled on the spot. The function of a cover, attachment of a solar panel, and the control device altogether are produced at a factory. Parts are maker's specifications. However, there is a standard for installation. Therefore, any maker's solar unit is compatible. Control device is built in the place of triangular box. No metal fitting are necessary. When attaching a panel on top, we can make them at a low cost. The cover is a solar unit. As a solar panel is semiconductor, It must be produced in a clean room. Mass producing and putting together in the form of a cover. Just placing a cover at a site make us free from the long time work. We have to consider high level radiation. That's important.
I suppose it's not so easy to put a cover on a container.
A solar unit is transferred on a container with crane from a truck. It could be done within 30 minutes since internal wiring is completed. It is a measure against radiation for workers to make field operation shorter. A cost cut is possible as well.
Don't you put contaminated sludge or something into a container before covering?
Oops, we have to put contaminated material into a container first. But make sure to measure radiation and to write it down on the bags as well as on a database. And we will be able to decontaminate after taking them out of the container till decontamination technology is developed in the future. Database can help us calculate from which container should be decontaminated. The picture shows a situation supposing a small scale like an individual home of work. A large amount of work by many people could reduce contamination per person. Let's ask for a volunteer group instead of doing by you.
What should we do with a place in which people cannot live due to high radiation?
Then solar containers are collected in large numbers as shown in the chart, and they are installed. It's mega solar, trend of the time. The point different from the mega solar is making it function as large size plant in a network, collecting a lot of modules.
What is the difference between a demonstration experiment conducted by the government and your idea?
First, I'll explain what the government is doing with the chart. A self-governing body invites public participation, and the general contractor receives an order. It divides the order into small sections and places it with local construction company. Then a local construction company asks employment office to collect workers. Finally, local workers applied for a job to do actual work, putting contaminated sludge into a flexible container, and then they are placed at temporary dump since there is no box. Next, another public invitation leads to temporary space. It's duty for each local to offer the space. However, it is likely to take a long time because of lacking of intermediate storage place.
It has not been decided yet, right?
That's right. So we call it demonstration experiment. If storage becomes longer, a temporary space must collapse. Further, dose of radiation are not written on bags, so we can't recognize any more. I'm sorry worry about it.
You mean an intermediate storage place has not been decided?
It is said they should be moved within 3 years. There are two structural ways, burying in a concrete box or set on the ground. Although the chart is drawn small, whole site will become the same size as Tokyo Disneyland. After 30 years intermediate storage, they are due to move to a final disposal site, but it hasn't been decided yet.
Temporary accumulation, temporary storage, intermediate storage, final disposal. So many times.
We move them when collecting as well, 4 times altogether.
It's a waste of time. Any other ideas?
Well, there is also such an idea. It is like this: putting solar panel on the cover of an intermediate storage place.
What's the difference from the decontamination solar project?
As a large area of 5 square kilometers is used, it is said nature destruction will be cost. Since a large cover cannot be removed easily, that place may become a final disposal site, not an intermediate storage place. There is also an idea of attaching a small division. However, in case of using a crane, the quantity of concrete becomes almost the same placing many containers. So it doesn't become a cost cut even if a scale is large. Since the distance carrying contaminated sludge becomes longer, fear of scattering as well as transportation costs will be a problem.
It is a very large-scale workload. What scale is it on the whole?
Quite a heavy work. If a contaminated zone assumed to be over 5 millisievert per year, 30% of Fukushima prefecture area is applicable. 5 centimeter contaminated soil will be 28 million cubic meters. If the quantity, which can be managed in one person a day, might be 1 ton, 400,000 people needed to work for 1 day. The number is almost the same as those who live in the Tokyo area. If one person joins the project from each family, they must work for 4 days. So, it can be said it becomes a scale of national movement. Supposing they carry 20 km flexible container 50 times, it turns out to be impossible carrying from a long distant place. For example, ordering from a construction firm, it will be at 20,000 yen per day, and it becomes the amount of money of 728 billion yen. Of course, using the machine is also considered. However, it is most difficult work to strip off the 5 centimeter ground. Generally, after scratching by backhoe, scoop it with a shovel.
My grandfather talked about a labor service long time ago. The school was closed, students were called up, and even sick people were also worked. It is hard work about the same as under war, right? I really understand your project should be a national movement level. By the way, if we do our best all together for solar power generation, how much electric power is produced?
Putting the sludge as 20 times as many Tokyo Dome into a container. About 1 million containers will be needed. The area will be 40 million square meters with solar panels on the top of a container. A unit electricity production is the one produced by getting the light on 1 square meter. 1 unit electricity production is 1.5 kilowatt, so it becomes 21 million kilowatt electricity, which means the same as the electric power lost in the accident of Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant.
Wow! The electric power lost in the accident can be recovered by natural energy. That's fantastic! But Master, what should we do first making 1 million containers?
A demonstration experiment has already started with a public place, such as school and the school zone. Even if those places are decontaminated, what about their houses? Each house where children spend most of the day must be safety. Decontaminating by single person takes a long time and the amount of contamination increases after all. By carrying out with many people, it can be decreased. However, not doing with the neighbors, but ask volunteers to make it once for safety. Since the power plant was built only for Tokyo, some person might think those who live there have a responsibility. People living in Tokyo area are recommended to join as a volunteer. Bonds with people in Fukushima could be close. Especially, skilled veterans Corps for Fukushima has a clear goal not to leave children a negative legacy. So why don't you take a volunteer's lead and do your best in it? Here is another idea. Since it is dangerous, compulsive migration is better. As a result, their land will be abandoned. However, it's part of their life for the locals. The land can be restored if radioactive materials are moved, because radiation is a foreign substance. Even if we can't stop the people giving up decontamination and leaving, we shouldn't say live there because it's dangerous. Losing their land is losing their life. Even polluted land, if there is an income by power generation, economical reconstruction is possible. Let's become a member of Fukushima Solar Power Generation, offering the land.
Merits is only for the locals?
No, there are merits for self-governing body as well. Decontamination and reconstruction can be advanced as one policy at the same time. Not knowing how much the government compensates at the moment, containers as an operating unit become proof. Even if decontamination doesn't go well, a power generation project produces tax revenues. Managing power generation and radiation are carried out at the same time. So this is a reliable way. In Chernobyl, no one knows where 800 intermediate storage places are now after 25 years. Stuffing contaminated sludge into containers, spot by spot, transportation can be short distance. And not making a big shade such as megasolar, nature destruction will be minimum. Moreover, work on decontamination can be standardized. It becomes possible to use volunteer with little experience effectively.
Then, how is the government merits?
As for decontamination and reconstruction experiences, the budget is taken independently now. However, this idea that can be done as one project in a short time also can avoid double investment. The conversion to natural energy has been a policy since before the accident. But after that, much more people began to consider it. A container filled with sludge of 750 square meters without collecting from a distance. So it can come through at a minimum cost, never forgetting storage places because of managing power generation. We should learn lessons from history of Chernobyl.
Are there any other merits?
Of course, every Tokyo Electric Power company, TEPCO, has a merit. It became impossible to use power generator in the accident. However, TEPCO has a legal responsibility of sending power to their customers, appealing for power saving but not knowing what to do. Since they have a practical experience and technology of solar power generation, conversion to natural energy could be done. Also, money can be earned with existing power lines. Separation of generating and sending power can be done smoothly as well. Through such business reform, we can expect TEPCO becomes honest.
The merit of TEPCO has been cleared. Is there any merit of ours, a user?
The customer in the capital area can buy electricity only from TEPCO at the moment. However, the larger natural power generation becomes, the more power supplier increase with legal revision. As Fukushima Solar Power Generation Cooperative consists of an aggregate of many units solar, they cannot be damaged at the same time. The system is so simple that it's strong enough to an emergency such as disaster. If monopoly collapses, the nuclear village, which is a nuclear complex, also collapses. It means new era of sound energy society.
Does a solar maker also have a merit?
Of course, a very big merit. Since no less than 1 million solar panels are made, mass production system is set up. Quality becomes much better and reliability also goes up. Besides, this unit solar will be the world de facto standard, getting a competitive power on the global market. Maintenance is easy. As it is 2 kilowatt module, we can operate individually. The maintenance needs to work about a high radiation zone. Since senior people are relatively not much affected by radiation, employment of them will be secured and encouraging their society.
This project is a grand plan. What are you going to do first?
At first, placing a decontamination container with solar panel at the site needed cleaning up in Fukushima to demonstrate. The price of the container and the solar panel will be 1 million yen at a mass production price. When it comes to the test, the expense will be as 3 times as that one. It's a common estimate. Collecting contribution and looking for support companies are necessary to make it realize. We are planning to have a test with incineration ashes shown in the slide number 28, and the place might be in the capital area.
Can solar power generation be operated automatically?
Well, basically yes. So even high radiation zone is okay. However, maintenance is necessary. Watching if the electric power generated normally and operation must be done on the spot in the case of trouble. This is a term for an expert senior.
What does a business model become? Where is an experiment begun?
As for decontamination work, the government and the self-governing body should lead the role. Volunteers actually work. Since TEPCO is responsible for decontamination, they should pay the expense. A tax might be used when they can't. Considering as a corporate form of solar power generation, to be the non-profit corporation and the cooperative. It means those who offer land become owner of cooperative. The profit of electricity sales will be paid to the owner of a container with solar panel as a depreciation expense for 15 years. There is an idea the government offers the first investment as an advance for natural energy spread.
Where is an experiment begun?
As for decontamination work, the government and self-governing body should lead the role. Volunteer actually work. Since TEPCO is responsible for decontamination, they should pay the expense. A tax might be used when they can't. Considering as corporate form of solar power generation to be the non-profit corporation and the cooperative. It means those who offer land become owner of the cooperative. The profit of electricity sales will be paid to the owner of a container with a solar panel as a depreciation expense for 15 years. There is an idea the government offers the first investment as an advance for natural energy spread.